Hey y'all, this video and its content are protected by and operate underneath the guides of the Fair Use Act. It will be used for reporting, criticisms, possible teachable moments, but most importantly, my commentary and review. So hey YouTube and anyone who gets butthurt, do not come copyright striking my channel. Also, everything in this video is allegedly according to what has been alleged, because even if we see them do it with our own two eyes, hear it come out of their mouths with our own two ears, or read it in court docs, it's still alleged because we weren't there, so we don't know what really happened.
That girl Henny, y'all gotta go to her channel.
The girl Henny, do you know who she is?
She a blogger or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, where this lady come from?
Girl been on your ass.
She on your life, G.
Shout out to Henny over there.
What's poppin', Henny gang. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the bar where we pour up the hot Henny and we try to keep you in the know. But please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell, select all so that you get notified whenever I do a video. And if you are a returning Henny Gang Mob Down member, yeah. Now let's get into this topic. So, as we all know, Diddy has had 6 cases that came out. 6 cases that involved 4 John Does and 2 Jane Does. Now, if you follow me on Clubhouse, we did review those documents. But if you don't, that's okay too, because we will be releasing the audio from the Clubhouse and all the things that we had to say about those 6 cases. Now, today, Diddy's lawyer responded to those 6 cases, but child, a 17th case has come down the pipeline. Child, this man got more cases than the bodega does of sodas. I'm just saying. These are the jokes. Thank you very much, darling. I appreciate you. I had to get my water for this because this is going to be a long one. But before we get started, there's 2 things that I have to do, which I should have been doing while I was talking. Okay. One of them is actually sending this out to the people on IG who don't know that we're live. Okay. Because if they're not following me on Henny Reviews _2, they don't know nothing. And that's my backup page. As y'all know, I'm unable to go live on IG until the 30th of the month because they keep saying that I'm bullying and harassing people. And I'm not. I'm sharing their content and I'm the one that's whatever. Anyway. So we're going to get into our topic right after I give out a few years and what's poppins to some people down here in the chat. Now, I know some of y'all be like, can you just get to the content? But no, because over here we have a system and we have a way of doing things. And we're going to keep the order of doing things. So without further ado, what's poppin' to Zippy? What's poppin' Evelyn? What's poppin' Dominican Queen? Hey, Henny Snipers in the cipher. Okay. What's poppin' Rakitha? What is popping Rochelle? What's poppin' Caramel Dip? What's poppin' Coley? What's poppin' Kashima? What's poppin' Ari Mac? Ari Mac, I thought you had a wrench. I'm gonna have to give you a wrench over here. I know you had a wrench at Straight Henny Period. You need a wrench over here. We got to get you a wrench. What's poppin' Felicia? What's poppin' Chocolate? What's poppin' Be More Careful? What's poppin' Niche? What's poppin' Tara? What's poppin' Tanya? What's poppin' Footprints? What's poppin' Uniquely? What's poppin' YSDTV? YSDT TV. Sorry. What's poppin', Miss Pammy? What's poppin', the T-Sipper? What's poppin', Erica? What's poppin', Centric Soul? What's poppin', Selena? The Henny Ciphers. Henny Snipers are in the cipher. What's poppin', Goddess? What's poppin', Janelle? Ari Mac. Happy 9-month anniversary. Yeah. Okay. What's poppin', Yvette? What's poppin' uniquely? Happy 8-month anniversary. Okay. Listen, I said 17th, okay? Because I don't know where we are in numbers, but 17 seems like about the right number. I don't know. Because he had 9. And it's 10, including the case with Dawn Richards. That's 10. Then the other girl that came out, that's 11. And then you got these 6 cases, 11 cases, and 6 is 7. So 18. 18. My bad. I'm going to have to change that thumbnail. Hold on. Let me do that right now. 18th case. I'm going to have to change the thumbnail and everything. Because when we read the white party, the girl at the white party, that was case number 9. Okay. That was case number 9. Since the girl at the white party, you had Dawn Richard. So that made 10. Then you had the other girl that came, well, you have the federal case. That makes 11. Then you have the other girl that came out with the whole press release. So that makes 12. Then you got the 6 cases. Wait a minute. Then you got the 6 cases, and 6 and 2 is 18. So we on case number 19. Y'all. Oh, let me edit this again. Let me edit this again. Child, I ain't even know we had that many. 19? That's a lot. That's a lot. And they're saying that there's more. Child. There's more cases to come, guys. Ringing the bell. Ring the alarm. All right. So what's popping to everybody that is down in the chat, because we took a little bit longer on the intro. Yes, almost a dub. That's crazy. And don't forget the 50 overseas ones on the way, allegedly. Nah, I ain't counting them yet until they get here. They get here and they actually hit the press and we can pull the court docs. Then I'm going to count them. Child, no, we on number 19. Now, I'm going to say this. We did review the 6 cases last night on Clubhouse, and I'm going to say this to y'all because I said it over there and I mean what I said and I said what I mean. It's kind of like it's a little suspicious to me, those cases, because I'm going to tell you why. It's not because there's men in there. It's not because of any of that. It's because of the simple fact that it doesn't line up with what we're accustomed to hearing from Diddy in a Diddy case. So we're going to read this. Then we're going to start off with his response to those 6 cases, because his lawyers are not playing. They're responding, and it seems like they're responding to everything. So let's go on ahead and let's get into some of these court docs. Damn. This is crazy. This is crazy work to me. Okay, so we already know the name at the top is Diddy's lawyer. We also know that this is going before the federal judge, okay? So now let's see what's going on here. Dear Judge, I don't know how to say his last name. We write on behalf of our client, Mr. Sean Combs, pursuant to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 7F. To request that the court direct the government to identify its alleged victims so that Mr. Combs can prepare for trial and allow defense counsel to ensure compliance with local rules. So now they trying to Child, they trying to force them to tell them who the Jane and John Does are. Lord have mercy. This case is unique. This is the background, in part because of the number of individuals levying allegations against Mr. Combs due to his celebrity status, wealth, and the publicity of his previously settled lawsuit and the grand jury leaks and false inflammatory statements by the Department of Homeland Security agents, as outlined in our previous motion. Now, pause. Because his lawyer is now trying to say that, well, because of that other case and because of this and because of that and because of that, that is why these people are coming forward. Now, I know his job is to defend him. However, to be completely dismissive, sorry. I may not believe all of them, but I do believe majority of them, folks. Anyway, so this has had a pervasive ripple effect, resulting in a torrent of allegations by unidentified complainants, spanning from the false to outrageous, outright absurd. Sorry. Yesterday alone, anonymous accusers filed an additional 6 lawsuits. Counsel for these accusers recently convened a press conference prior to filing, at which he claimed to represent 120 accusers, making outrageous and deeply prejudicial allegations, including violent eggs assaults, eggs abuse of minors. This publicity stunt broadcast on Instagram included a 1 to 800 number that reportedly received a $12,000. Back it up. This publicity stunt broadcast on Instagram included a 1-800 number that reportedly received 12,000 calls in the first 24 hours. These accusations came on the heels of more than a dozen lawsuits previously filed and currently pending, several of which have already been discredited, but only after irreparably damaging Mr. Combs' character and reputation. These spiraling allegations have created a hysterical media circuit that, if left unchecked, will irreparably deprive Mr. Combs of a fair trial if they haven't already. In light of the number of anonymous accusers, on October 7th of 2024, Mr. Combs asked the government to identify its alleged victims. Counsel has conferred with the government, who opposes disclosure of alleged victims' names at this stage. So he wants the names released of the accusers, okay? And the government is like, nah, bruh. We're not giving you that. Like, you're not about to go up here and blow up people's cars, allegedly. You're not about to go out here and attempt to persuade them and harass them. You're not about to go out here and tamper with none of these witnesses or these accusers or any of that. We're not giving you that information, sir. It's going to remain a Jane and John Doe, and we're going to redact. Because remember, they did also put in a motion for things to be sealed. So that means that he can get the paperwork, but it's going to be redacted. Heavily redacted, and he can't even view his paperwork by himself. That is how much of a threat to the community and witnesses and all of that they feel that Puffy is. At this point in time, I'm waiting for Mrs. Claus, Mr. Claus, and all the elves up in the North Pole to come and make some allegations too. I'm just saying. All right. Now, the court should require the government to identify its alleged victims. Bills of particulars are appropriate to permit a defendant to identify with sufficient particulatory, the nature of the charges pending against him, thereby enabling defendant to prepare for trial, to prevent surprise, and to interpose a plea of double jeopardy should he be prosecuted a second time for the same offense. So what they're saying is, we got a right to know so that we can prepare our cases. And we also need to know who these John and Jane Does are so that we can make sure that we don't get sued twice by these people, because there's that possibility when they go in anonymous. That is true, but I don't know if the government is going to allow this to happen. I don't know. This is going to be interesting to see. These principles are applied with particular care when the government charges RICO, as it has here. As the Second Circuit explained, with the wide latitude accorded the prosecution to frame a charge that a defendant has conspired to promote the affairs of an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, comes on an obligation to particularize the nature of the charge to a degree that might not be necessary in the prosecution of crimes of more limited scope. So they're saying that, you could basically just charge us whatever it is that you want to charge us with if we don't know the scope of everything. With these principles in mind, the circuit held in Davidoff, where the government failed to identify the victims of unchanged schemes that it intended to include at trial. The district court committed reversible error by failing to grant a bill of particulars. Here, the indictment broadly alleges that for decades, Mr. Combs abused, threatened, and coerced undisclosed and unidentified women and others around him to fulfill sexual desires, and he engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals, including verbal, emotional, physical, sexual abuse, and manipulating women to participate in sexual activities. This could be interpreted as treating Mr. Combs' entire sexual history over the past 16 years as part of an alleged crime conspiracy. The government should be required to identify its alleged victims for several reasons. First, without clarity from the government, Mr. Combs has no way of knowing which allegations the government is relying on for purposes of the indictment. Other than victim one, there is no way for Mr. Combs to determine who the other identified alleged victims are. Now, I get what he's trying to say that they need to know, but I also get what he's trying to do, and that is he is trying to smoke them out, because he is trying to say, look, you only are putting this one victim in here. And we've already figured out that it is Cassie who y'all are talking about. And because we figured it out that it is Cassie, but you talking about there's multiple, this has spanned over decades. Who the rest of these people? Because you haven't named victim number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 70 million. You've only named victim number 1. So as far as we're concerned, there's only one victim in this case, no history of this going on with other victims that have stepped forward. So therefore, you cannot make this case about more than one victim. See what I'm saying? That's what they're trying to do. That's how I'm interpreting this. Now let's continue to read the docs. The way Henny reads the docs, baby. Okay. Now, the number of potential alleged victims and the length of time alleged in the indictment both weigh in favor of the bill of particulars, okay? They're not going to give up. Ordering bill of particulars for names of unindicted co-conspirators where there was a large number of co-conspirators, 8 defendants and are known. Okay, so that's the history. All right. Moreover, to the extent Mr. Combs is forced to mount a defense against criminal allegations that the government does not seek to prove at trial, he is entitled to know that. So they're saying that you about to charge him with some stuff and, he don't even know what you about to charge him with. Absent a bill of particulars, the government is forcing him unfairly to play a guessing game, one made all the more challenging by the onslaught of baseless allegations that desperate plaintiffs are lodging at him, for the most part anonymously, in civil suits designed to exact payoff from Mr. Combs and others. Child. With him trying to smoke him out or smoke the government out, the government done already told you that they got a plethora of information and that you'll get it as we roll it out. But you see, this lawyer not having it. All right. Second, Given the anticipated amount of discovery and the expected time required for its production, Mr. Combs will be unable to adduce the identities of the proposed victims for the discovery without the assistance of the government. So he's like, listen, we're going to need y'all to help us out, because help us, help you, help us, help you, help us. Okay. Give us this information. Mr. Combs also anticipates that discovery will contain voluminous evidence of consensual sexual activity, making it all the more difficult for Mr. Combs to assert which of his prior sexual partners now claim years later that they felt coerced. So, child, Diddy, listen. What he's saying is, I'm going to just say it because y'all come here for me to say it, right? So you're saying that there is a plethora of videotapes, right, of consensual adult activities. And because of that, it's going to make it hard for him to figure out which defendants were violated, because they were all consenting adults, Your Honor. Everybody on the video was a consenting adult, Your Honor. But what we can't see is if they were actually under the influence or not. So I don't know. Like this right here, it's not really sitting well for me, because I'm really thinking on that. Like, how many tapes you got? So you just been taping all of your encounters, every last one. Ladies, this thing on. If you slept with Diddy, Diddy got you on tape. But wait a minute. Did they consent to being videoed is the question. Because now here comes something else. Here comes something else. Y'all follow me. Y'all ready? So if you laid up and had eggs with somebody and you recorded it secretly and they did not consent to that, is that considered to be a crime? Let's continue. Just throwing something out there. Okay? Just throwing it out there. Even if it were possible to ascertain the victim's identity from the discovery, and especially given the volume of anticipated discovery, it is unfair to require Mr. Combs to spend significant time trying to unearth the alleged victims' identities. The government does not fulfill its obligation merely by providing mountains of documents to defense counsel, who are left unguided to which documents the government will use at trial. Third, okay. So they want to know everything that the government knows, which technically they have a right to know. Okay. So they're really pressing for these identities. And I don't know if after hearing everything and reading through some of the transcripts of why the government actually felt like he was a threat to the community, and that he would witness tamper and all of that stuff, I don't know if I feel like giving. I don't know. All I'm going to say is I can see why the government ain't giving up those names, because they're trying to protect those people who are trying to come forward. Because you have to also remember, for those cases where people are speaking out and they have said that they are scared and fearful because he has threatened, he has blackballed, he has done this, he has blown up my car, he's done all of this stuff, right? It's taking a lot for them to even come forward. Now, he's saying he doesn't want a surprise. And I guess it would be considered a surprise to him at trial for him to be sitting there at the defense table and in walks somebody that he didn't even know was coming in to testify. However, I feel like keeping them anonymous protects their identity. But if you on the other side of that coin, anonymous people can make anonymous cases against him. And there could be a person that's just sitting back writing these up at that Texas law firm. Okay, just typing them up, coming up with these stories, and there's no actual person behind the case. I mean, I'm going to look at all sides of the story and piece it together. And I know that some people would be like, Henny, what? That was kind of a far reach, but is it though? Because stranger things have happened. Child. Third, the publicity of these allegations in civil suits seriously undermine Mr. Combs' right to a fair trial. Let's hear him out. Let's hear him out. The attorney and plaintiffs making these allegations are not bound by local rule 23.1 and can therefore make and have made limitless and unchanged statements to the press. Mr. Combs denies, on the other hand, and constrained by Rule 23.1 because he doesn't know which allegations are credited by the government and thus come within the ambit of the local rule. Under the circumstances, the court should require disclosure of the government's alleged victims and allow Mr. Combs to respond to allegations of other uncredited, unrelated accusers. So we appreciate the court's consideration. This was written on the 14th. And, you know, this is where he has emailed to the lawyer and demanded that they tell him who the people are that are on this case. Now, let me just, you know, as far as I know, they are anonymous to the court as well. Court does not know who these people are, but the lawyer knows who they are. I would assume that as they get ready to go to trial, the identity would be revealed. But as of right now, they are anonymous. And I get what the lawyer is saying, but I also get why the government is reluctant to give it to him. What did you say? What if the victim signed NDA and inserted in the contract is permission granted recording every encounter? Critical thinking. No, that is a possibility that they could have that clause in his NDA. But if you remember, we went over his NDA a little bit. We could do another live where we go over a Diddy NDA, but it's kind of long and lengthy, so we ain't going to do that today because today we're going to get into the 19th case, not the 17th case of Diddy, okay? He is working on double digits, and he is clearly pushing towards a dub with these allegations that are being made against him. And like I said last night, I'm not going to say that, you know, hey, he's guilty. Some of these cases sounded really outlandish. If you've heard them on other platforms, then you know what I'm talking about. And some of them just, I don't know. We'll talk about it. All right. So this is the latest case that came out. This case came out to yesterday on the 15th. Okay, the docs are here. And this case is Ashley Perham, okay, against Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Love, Puffy, and Diddy, Kristen Corum, Shane Paris, and Jane Doe, John Doe's 1 through 3, and Jane Doe. Okay. And the complaint is a demand for a jury trial. We have a trigger warning, guys. We have a trigger warning. And this has been filed in the United States District Court for the Northern District of California. So this is coming out of California, and this is filed in a federal court out there in Cali. Jesus. So you know how we do. We're going to get all the way down here to the factual allegations. And this is the factual allegations common to all counts. Okay. So let's get into this and let's read. Plaintiff met defendant Shane in February of 2018 after an altercation with another man at a bar, and defendant Shane came to the plaintiff's rescue. Oh, so Shane was being a knight in shining armor. While outside the bar with friends and other patrons, defendant Shane FaceTime video called defendant Diddy and was showing people defendant Diddy in the video on his phone, attempting to impress people with his famous friend. Defendant Shane then showed the plaintiff defendant Diddy on his video call, which plaintiff ignored, stating she was not impressed by him knowing Diddy because she believed defendant Diddy had something to do with the unaliving of rapper Tupac Shakur. Woo! She's Tupac fan. Hey, girl. Visible in the FaceTime was the defendant Diddy and some of his children, including his sons Kristen and Quincy. It appeared from the plaintiff's perspective, defendant Diddy was having a get-together at his home during the time of the FaceTime call with defendant Shane. Defendant Diddy heard plaintiff's statement and made a remark to the plaintiff that the plaintiff would pay for her statement regarding Tupac and overall dismissed and overall dismissal of defendant Diddy. On March 23rd of 2018, defendant Shane invited the plaintiff over to his house to assist him with his cancer medications because he stated he was weak and unable to open his medications. Lord, girl, first of all, why? Can we have a moment of silence for Tupac, please? Okay. Why would you make that statement and then hang around his people? Got questions. Upon plaintiff's arrival, defendant Shane informed the plaintiff that he wanted to give her a ride in his new car. Now, hold on. How we go from I am too weak to open my cancer medications, can you come over here and help me, to I want to take you for a ride in my car? Sir, if you couldn't open up a pill bottle, what makes you think I'm going to allow you to open up a car door, get behind the wheel, and drive me anywhere? Because it says he wanted to give her a ride in his new car. Not he wanted her to see his new car, or he wanted her to give child. Okay, let's continue. Plaintiff and defendant Shane left his residence for a brief period and then returned. Once they returned, defendant Shane left the door to his apartment partially open and stated that the door was ajar because there was an issue with the door when it couldn't completely close. Oh, I don't like where this is going. I'm going to ring the bell now. Defendant Shane had a separate entrance into his residence that led to the backyard of the home. The home also had a main entrance on Loma Vista Drive. Did I say that right? Loma Vista Drive. Okay, defendant Shane rented the home from a woman who lived in the upstairs portion of the home and had 2 dogs who resided with her. Plaintiff and defendant Shane then began to watch a movie, and defendant Shane offered her a glass of water, which he retrieved and brought back to the plaintiff. Oh, Lord, not they spiking the water. Don't tell me they're spiking the water, too. The water ain't safe. Approximately 10 minutes after the plaintiff and defendant returned from their drive, defendant Diddy entered defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy entered the home in a grand, ready-to-party manner. His grandiose entrance was so loud that the dogs upstairs began barking. Defendant Diddy did not enter the home through the backyard entrance, but instead through the main entrance. Along with defendant Diddy was his bodyguard, defendant Doe 1, a woman who plaintiff later identified as defendant KK. Now, who the hell's initials is KK? Who is KK? If y'all know who KK is, tell me. I want to know. Another woman, small, skinny built, early 30s, with a blonde mid-length hair, who plaintiff has still been able to unidentify, Jane Doe. Defendant Doe 2, who, upon information and belief, is a friend of the defendants, Shane and Diddy, and defendant Diddy's driver, Doe 3. Lord have mercy, he done traveled with a little entourage. He got him, Diddy. You got KK, the security guard. You got this woman with blonde mid-length hair. You got defendant Doe and the driver, who remained outside and in his vehicle during the duration of the plaintiff's assault. Oh, man. Plaintiff believes defendant Shane invited her over to set her up to be assaulted by defendant Diddy because of the statement she made about defendant Diddy a month prior. Well, let's go back. Yes, I could see that. I don't know if it's Kim, Khloe Kardashian, but it's somebody with a KK. Okay. Where was he at? A month prior. Okay. Upon defendant Diddy's arrival, he immediately began to antagonize the plaintiff, stating that she thought she would never see him again. Pay for her statements about Tupac during the video call, and the defendant Diddy caught plaintiff. Plaintiff was in shock as she never believed that she would ever see or meet defendant Diddy in real life, let alone in the small apartment rented by defendant Shane. Defendant Diddy then began advancing towards where plaintiff was sitting on defendant Shane's bed with a knife and held it to the right side of the plaintiff's face and threatened to give her a Glasgow smile in retaliation for her previous statement on the video call. Okay. I'm going to be forced to say what I said on the Clubhouse last night. You're asking what year was this? 2018. Where was this sinister Diddy at before? Like where he's just doing stuff to people like this. This is crazy. Defendant KK told defendant Diddy that she did not think giving the plaintiff a Glasgow smile would be advantageous to their potential client, who they could sell plaintiff for eggs to. Defendant KK then made a threat to the plaintiff that they would ship her off anywhere in the world and that she would never see her family or anyone she ever knew again. Defendant Shane then partially undressed plaintiff. Then defendant Diddy, removed the remainder of plaintiff's clothes, removing the knife from her face, and then retrieved a bottle of liquid from a large fanny pack. So Diddy is walking around with a fanny pack with... Diddy is walking around with a fanny pack full of freak-off supplies. Defendant Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid into the on plaintiff, then placed her in fear. Defendant Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid on plaintiff, which placed her in fear that she was being squirted with a chemical substance like acid. Plaintiff soon realized that the substance was an oil lubricant. Plaintiff was squirting with this liquid substance over the entirety of her naked body. Diddy was glossing her up, y'all. Defendant KK was then told by defendant Diddy to insert what looked like a syringe from sterile packaging into the plaintiff's vagina. What are we talking about here? Defendant KK did as told. Defendant KK was then told by defendant Diddy to insert what looked like a syringe from sterile packaging into the plaintiff's woo-ha. Defendant KK did as told, and then told defendant Diddy that she was unable to use the IUD because it had permanently been released from its packaging. What? So they're trying to insert an IUD into... a Diddy doc. That's what you just came in on. You came in Where you at? I seen your comment. You came in on a Diddy doc. That's all I could say. Y'all, don't hate me for saying this, but somebody got to say it. This is getting more and more outlandish. So now he done oiled her down. And now he's got this defendant KK inserting a syringe. Okay, we got to read that again because I'm still kind of stuck on that part. Defendant KK was told by defendant Diddy to insert what looked like a syringe from a sterile packaging into the plaintiff's punanter. Defendant KK did as told and then told defendant Diddy she was unable to use the IUD because it had permanently been released from its packaging. Defendant Diddy, upset by this, took the syringe from defendant KK and tried inserting it in the plaintiff's punanter instead. Defendant KK and Diddy began to argue as defendant KK continued to advise defendant Diddy to use the IUD, that since the IUD had been permanently released from its packaging, it was no way that they could insert it into the plaintiff's punanter effectively. After some time, defendant Diddy heeded the advice of defendant KK and removed the syringe from the defendant's punanter and handed it to defendant KK. So you up here, what? I don't know who to slap. Defendant KK and Jane Doe then exited defendant Shane's residence, leaving plaintiff alone with defendants Diddy, Shane, Doe's 1 and 2. Defendant Diddy then picked up a television remote that was near plaintiff and violently inserted it into her punanter. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is a lot. This is a lot. Defendant Diddy, while violently graping plaintiff with a television remote, told the plaintiff that her life was in his hands and that if he wanted, he could take her and she would never be seen again. Plaintiff began hysterically crying from the threats by the defendant Diddy, along with the pain of being violently vaginally graped by defendant Diddy with the television remote, as well as the lingering pain from the ordeal with the IDU syringe insertion. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to turn plaintiff on her stomach, seemingly tired of hearing the plaintiff's blood-curdling cries. Defendant Shane then grabbed plaintiff by her abdomen and hips and turned the plaintiff on her stomach. Defendant Diddy then inserted defendant instructed defendant Shane to put a pillow over her head because he didn't want to see her face or hear her cries, and instructed defendant Shane to anally grape the plaintiff. Defendant Shane did as he was told by defendant Diddy and began anally graping the plaintiff. Defendant Diddy then violently graped plaintiff anally with defendant Shane. Defendant Doe 2 then joined defendants Diddy and Shane, taking turns anally graping the plaintiff. Immediately after defendant Doe 2 graped the plaintiff, he exited defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Doe 1 to also grape the plaintiff. Instead of immediately graping the plaintiff, Doe 1 doused plaintiff with more oil lubricant, then jumped on top of the plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of the plaintiff due to his enormous size. Defendant Doe 1 then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed. He then began graping plaintiff vaginally. While defendant Doe 1 was graping plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began self-pleasuring while recording plaintiff's grape by defendant Doe 1. Another party's phone fell on the bed near the plaintiff. Plaintiff then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil lubricant that had been doused all over her person by defendants Diddy and Doe 1. Defendant Diddy began laughing at plaintiff's attempt to grab the phone. Throughout the violent gangbang-style grape, defendant Diddy made constant belittling remarks to the plaintiff, including that he owned her now. Plaintiff's body was becoming more and more limp, of course, over the course of the violent grape, until eventually she had no control over her body, nor could she move her body. Then defendant Doe 1 finished graping the plaintiff. Defendant KK entered the room to examine the conditions of the plaintiff, who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Defendant KK examined the plaintiff to see if she needed assistance and was about to give the plaintiff an IV fluid. Plaintiff cannot be certain if she did or didn't receive such intravenous intervention. Defendant KK then opened a different bag, different than the one defendant Diddy removed the oil from, where plaintiff observed several medicine bottles, IV fluid bags, and other unidentifiable powder-like drugs. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bottles and gave it to defendant Diddy. Defendant Diddy then inserted the pill into the plaintiff's mouth and put her and down her throat to where the plaintiff had no choice but to ingest the unknown pill. Defendants Diddy, Shane, KK, and Doe 1 then exited the residence to the backyard where they smoked marijuana and cigarettes. Plaintiff remained in an almost lifeless state in defendant Shane's bedroom until she finally regained her bodily functions. Plaintiff then began looking for her clothes and purse that contained her car keys and cell phone, but could not discover them in the room or anywhere in the apartment. Plaintiff was only able to find a t-shirt on the floor, which she put on to cover her naked body. Plaintiff also observed a black condom wrapper on the floor of the bedroom, which she assumed was used by one of the defendants, most likely defendant Diddy, during the grape. Plaintiff then grabbed a knife from the kitchen and headed to the backyard where the defendants were smoking, as that was the only way to exit the premises onto the street. Plaintiff concealed the knife on her left side as she exited the apartment to the backyard area. Upon coming to the exit of the home, which led to the backyard, plaintiff was met by defendant Doe 1, who was standing at the door between the residence and the backyard. By the time plaintiff was able to compose herself and come to the backyard, defendant KK was no longer in the backyard, but upstairs on a patio balcony with defendant Jane Doe. Defendant Doe 1 allowed plaintiff to walk to the backyard where defendants Shane and Diddy were still smoking. Defendant Doe 1 did not see the knife in the plaintiff concealed in her left hand, as it was obstructed by the oversized t-shirt she was wearing. Plaintiff observed defendant Diddy still partially nude from the assault while defendant Shane and Doe 1 had on their clothing. Wait a minute, pause. I have a question. She said that the landlord lived upstairs from Shane in an apartment upstairs. She lived in the upstairs portion of the house with her 2 dogs. Yet this KK and Jane Doe are upstairs on the patio. So was the landlord in on this too? That's 1. 2, he did not live there by himself. And you're telling me that Diddy is sitting in the backyard partially naked still? I am confusion. While defendant Shane and Doe 1 had on their clothes. So he the only one back there partially naked in the backyard. Defendant Shane then left to the upstairs portion of the patio balcony where defendants KK and Jane Doe were already situated. Plaintiff then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard while defendant Diddy noticed her presence and remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her enough drugs to take out a horse. Defendant, wait, when did she get rugged? When did she get rugged? Because she didn't mention nothing about him rugging her. No, because KK, oh yeah, he gave her a pill. Pause. He gave her a pill. You're right. He gave her a pill. Yeah, the pill he forced down her throat. No, the syringe was an IUD. There was no rugs in IUD. There's nothing that you can put in the baby oil that's going to make you no. But I'm going to show y'all it. No, it's not in the baby oil. It's not in the baby oil. Hold on. Before we continue, let me just go ahead and let me do this real quick. So there is a vial that they do have as evidence. I don't know why an IUD. I don't know why an IUD. Hold on, because I promised that I was going to show this to y'all, for those of y'all who did not see. GHB is not in, it doesn't have effects on people through the skin. It doesn't. GHB has to be inserted intravenously by a needle or put into your rectum in order for you to feel the effects of it. By putting it in baby oil and then squirting it into the rectum would then dilute it down. Now that I got from a nurse. I spoke to a nurse, but this is what the GHB looks like. Okay, this is a flip top. I don't know what this is over here, this little spot on it, but this is what the GHB allegedly looked like. This is how they would slip it into people's drinks. They would hold this long part in their hand and flip the top open and pour it into a drink. So that's the GHB. Now, what I did say is if they found 1,000 bottles of this, then I would say, yes, that is possible GHB and not baby oil. However, I'm quite sure that they have tested the substances. I listen, I don't even want to get into that debate. I'm tired of debating with people about the GHB and the baby oil thing. Like, we're going to leave it there. All right. Yes. I thought an IUD had to be put in by a nurse as well. Apparently this KK person must work in the medical profession or something, because Why y'all trying to insert an IUD into somebody? Anyway. Plaintiff then asked defendant Diddy what he gave her, and he laughed and did not provide a response. Defendant Diddy then made further comments to plaintiff in a jovial, friendly manner, asking her why they hadn't partied together before, because it was so much fun, and he hadn't had any that tight in a while. I'm uncomfortable, guys. No, because when she drank the water earlier, she didn't say that she began to feel fuzzy or funny. The only mention of anything of substance going into her system was the pill down the throat. Oh, shoot. Yes. Kristen Karam, KK, at the top of the freaking list. I forgot all about that. Yes. You need the bell? Okay. Defendant Doe 1 then quipped at defendant Diddy that he probably hadn't had any that tight because he's not used to having anal eggs with women, which defendant Diddy and Doe 1 laughed at. Defendant then told defendant Diddy she did not party with him and she did not enjoy partying with him and that he raped her. Defendant Diddy did not like plaintiff's response to his lighthearted commentary and offered plaintiff money and instructed plaintiff to say that the violent rape was consensual and that plaintiff was an eggs worker. Yes, that was the tightest buns he had because he hadn't had that type of eggs with a woman before. I don't know if I could finish reading this, guys. This is so disgustingly diabolical. I'm going to say it like I said it yesterday, reading those other cases. If it's true, it's disgusting. It's perverse and it's diabolical. It's evil at its core. If it's not true, it is still all of those things, but it is a very sick mind to do these acts or to even sit and make up these acts. Either way, there's some real mental health sickness that's going on here. Be it real, be it a fake statement, it doesn't matter. Somebody had to sit and construct this and put it together. Plaintiff became enraged and yelled at defendant Diddy that her grape was not consensual. She was not an eggs worker and she refused to take any money from him and would tell the police that he raped her. Defendant Diddy then told the plaintiff no one would ever believe her, ever believe that she had been raped by him. And if she did tell anyone, that they would harm her family. Defendant Doe 1 then showed plaintiff his phone, which looked as if it was outside the plaintiff's estranged sister's residence, as she could see her sister sitting on the couch and her sister's spouse on the balcony. It looked as if someone was outside the residence streaming this video to defendant Doe 1's phone. Plaintiff, while rattled by what she was seeing on defendant Doe 1's phone, was still angry about being gang raped and was not complying with defendant Diddy's request to take the money being offered to say the rape was consensual. Defendant Diddy then called his mother This just doesn't stop. Defendant Diddy then called his mother in an effort to further convince the plaintiff not to report her assault. Defendant Diddy's mother yelled at plaintiff to not hurt her son. Plaintiff told defendant Diddy's mother that her son had violently raped the plaintiff. Defendant Diddy's mother, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with the plaintiff to take the money being offered and not report the grape to law enforcement. Defendant Diddy then made further threats that he had gotten off from bigger crimes than this and referred to Tupac again, further antagonizing the plaintiff. What are we reading? What are we reading? What are we reading? Defendant Doe 1 then turned to Diddy. I'm just going to say Doe 1 and Diddy. I'm tired of saying defendant. Doe 1 turned to Diddy and pulled his on him, asking him to repeat what he said about Tupac. Okay, so now let me guess. Defendant Doe 1 is going to save the day. Doe 1 then turned to Diddy and pulled his pow on him, asking him to repeat what he said in reference to Tupac. As the two of them were exchanging words, plaintiff went behind Doe 1, where he seemingly began to protect plaintiff. Doe 1 then advanced to Diddy, questioning him over the comment he made about Tupac. During the commotion, a neighbor directly across the street came outside and peered into the yard and asked what the commotion was about. So the neighbor across the street heard the commotion, but the landlord upstairs didn't. The dogs heard it and barked earlier, but the landlord upstairs didn't hear. What are we reading? I gotta pull my hoodie down. I'm sorry. My back is cold. And y'all know what happens when my back gets cold. What are we reading, people? Doe 1 then pointed the pow at the neighbor and instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. Doe 1 then turned the pow back on Diddy. Plaintiff, not far behind Doe 1, tried to grab Doe 1's hand that had the pow. The pow then went off and hit a hill behind defendant Shane's residence. What? I'm sorry. This is so outlandish right here. The pow then went off and hit a hill behind Shane's residence. Diddy then ran up the back stone stairs near the hill in the backyard towards where KK, Shane, and Jane Doe were. Plaintiff charged towards Diddy, moving the concealed knife from her left hand to her right hand in pursuit of Diddy. Come on now. What are we reading? I don't know what's fact or fiction anymore. I'm being honest with y'all. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, come on. So you mean to tell me that Doe 1, the security guard, ain't never heard him make no comments about Pac before? Now, all of a sudden, as she's standing there with this knife tucked behind just her big overgrown t-shirt, she's having this calm conversation with Diddy. And all these people are just cool with it happening, knowing what just went down in that room. Nobody's on high alert with her. Then all of a sudden, he makes a comment about Pac. And he begins defending her. Man, I don't know what to believe anymore. Doe then turned back. Okay, let's go back. Doe 1 then pointed the pow pow at the neighbor and instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. Doe 1 then turned the pow pow back on Diddy. Plaintiff, not far behind Doe 1, tried to grab Doe 1's hand that had the pow pow. The pow pow then went off and hit a hill behind Shane's residence. Diddy then ran up the back stone stairs near the hill in the backyard towards where KK, Shane, and Jane Doe were. Plaintiff charged towards Diddy, moving the concealed knife from her left hand to her right hand in pursuit of Diddy. Plaintiff then pushed Diddy from behind while on the stone stairs outside, causing him to fall and hit his fall with his back to the plaintiff. Y'all, plaintiff then raised the knife in a rage from the events that just transpired and with the intent of driving into Diddy's back when he turned around and began pleading for his life. Plaintiff, shocked now to see Diddy acting as a victim, had as a victim had a moment of clarity and then turned and ran down the outdoor stone staircase back out to the backyard to escape. Diddy then chased the plaintiff down the stairs and attempted to push her, but she was already at the bottom of the stairs and gained her footing and wielded the knife at defendant Diddy, grazing his abdomen. So now Diddy got a cut on his abdomen from this. Hearing the commotion, KK and Jane Doe emerged. KK then began administering first aid to Diddy for the injuries caused by the plaintiff. Plaintiff tried to make a quick dash for the exit, but it was thwarted by Doe 1. After a period of time, plaintiff was able to abscond from defendant Doe 1 due to the first aid commotion with defendant Diddy and was able to run down the street. Once the plaintiff made it onto the street, she began yelling loudly for someone to call the police. Doe 1 had now caught up to the plaintiff, advised plaintiff that he was an undercover cop. To this day, plaintiff is unsure of the truth of the falsity of the statement. First of all, an undercover cop cannot grape you. They cannot commit a crime in the course of an investigation unless the rules have changed. This is sounding like a bad movie. The same neighbor then again emerged from his residence asking what was transpiring. Just as the plaintiff was attempting to answer, gunshots began being fired in the plaintiff's direction. You letting off gunshots in a residential area? Plaintiff then heard a SUV screeching and speeding, leaving the residence. Plaintiff then entered the home of the neighbor who informed her that he had already called the police. Plaintiff informed the neighbor that it was Sean Combs who had raped her and shot at them, but the neighbor was unaware who defendant Diddy was. Shortly thereafter, a sheriff came from the Katona Costa Sheriff's Department, arrived at the neighbor. Thereafter, a sheriff from the Corona Costa Katrana Costa Sheriff's Department arrived at the neighbor's home. Plaintiff told the sheriff she had been violently gang raped by Diddy and others and that she did not have her clothes, phone, purse, car keys, or cell phone. The sheriff told the plaintiff the neighbor had already received several noise complaints. Sheriff told her and the neighbor that they had already received several noise complaints prior to the neighbor's call and instructed plaintiff to find a way to get home. What? The sheriff did not offer to take plaintiff home, nor did he call for emergency services, including an ambulance, nor any offer to take plaintiff to the hospital, nor any offer to help plaintiff recover her clothes or effects from defendant Shane's residence. The neighbor offered to let plaintiff sleep on his couch until she could figure it out. Wait a minute. Until she could figure out a way to get her possessions and get home, but plaintiff declined and only remained at the neighbor's residence for a short period of time once the sheriff left. Plaintiff then went back to defendant Shane's residence, where she found the door open and her clothes were readily accessible in his residence. Why are you? Defendant Shane then emerged as if nothing had transpired and offered for the plaintiff to stay at his residence while she slept it off. Plaintiff asked for her purse and her keys, but Shane told her she shouldn't leave in her condition. And plaintiff, catatonic and in the state of shock and disbelief of the events that transpired, stayed at Shane's home while Shane left the home. What? Yo, I'm done. I'm done. Do y'all want me to keep reading this? Ari said, the end. What are you talking about? Read truth what? Are you trolling me? Because if you're trolling me, you're going to get cussed out. I'm just letting you know that right now. I read it. I read it. I read it. You want me to keep reading? I'm waiting for us to get, okay, you're not a troll. Okay, then I take it back. I got to be on guard sometimes, Rob. Please don't take no offense. I just don't know. I just don't know sometimes. Okay, you know what? We have to finish reading the doc. We started. We have to finish. Okay, we have to finish. So he left the home and she stayed. That's where we're at. Later that morning, defendant Shane returned to the residence and woke plaintiff up and finally gave her back her purse, cell phone, and keys. And plaintiff left defendant's residence. In a daze, plaintiff returned home and tried to make sense of what happened to her. On March 26th of 2018, plaintiff contacted her primary care doctor and asked for an HIV and STD test in fear of possibly having contracted a disease from her violent grape. Pause. You ain't go to the hospital. They was just trying to shove an IUD in your woo-ha. They then graped you in your booty and graped you in your tootie. And you didn't go to the hospital yet, but you called to make a doctor's appointment for an STD test. You didn't check to see if the lining of your punanter was okay. If the lining of your booty was okay. What are we reading? What is this? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? I swear to God, if this turns out to not be a real story, I'm going to drag. Because what about the real victims in the case? That's if this is not true. Because we don't know. Because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. I gotta keep it open, guys. I can't just be all one way or the other. I gotta be open when things aren't lining up. This is not lining up, and it wasn't lining up for me from the minute they said that it was said that they was trying to put an IUD in her. I'm like, what are we doing? Who does this? Plaintiff tried to continue her life as she felt she wouldn't be believed, as plaintiff already had told Contra Costa Sheriff's Department defendant Diddy graped her to no avail. Further, plaintiff had under the Plaintiff was under the impression if she did continue to say Diddy's name in relation to her assault, she would not be believed and her family would be in danger. Seemingly mere days, maybe even the day before plaintiff's vicious grape, Shane had miraculously begun driving a new car. Plaintiff believes that this was payment by defendant Diddy for setting up the plaintiff to be raped. Now, what? A few weeks later, in April of 2018, plaintiff, still in pain and reeling from horrific assault, went to the hospital as her injuries had not subsided from the assault. You went to the hospital. I can't say nothing because people who get raped, they respond differently, they move differently. I don't know. The hospital conducted the hospital conducted several tests on the plaintiff, including a grape kit, ultrasound, and x-rays. Additionally, plaintiff was given IV fluids to stabilize her vitals as she was in a severe weakened state from being unable to eat and losing a substantial amount of weight since the grape occurred. While at the hospital, plaintiff told members of her treatment team about her horrific assault, and then they contacted the Walnut Creek police. Walnut Creek police showed up to the plaintiff's hospital room and took a statement regarding her assault on March 23rd. Eyes. Plaintiff had already told Contra Costa sheriffs about her grape and that it was Diddy who orchestrated it on March 23rd, 2018, which was ignored. Plaintiff declined to refer to Diddy again to Walnut Creek police because she believed she would be ignored by the Walnut Creek police just as she was by the Contra Costa County sheriffs, and or would be further harmed by Diddy if she discovered she named him to the police. Plaintiff only told Walnut Creek police about the assault from defendants Shane and John and Doe 2. Plaintiff believes her statement made to Walnut Creek police while at the hospital was captured by police body cam footage. Plaintiff further believes her statements made to the Contra Costa sheriff on March 23rd, immediately after the vicious assault, where plaintiff named Diddy directly and by name, was captured by police body cam footage. Plaintiff also filed a report to the Orinda. I hope I said that right. Orinda Police Department on April 17th, 2018. But again was too afraid to name Diddy as one of her assailants. During this report, plaintiff provided her clothes to the police from the night of the assault, but they only retained her underwear. To date, the underwear was never returned, and the plaintiff believes no investigation was commenced. So she done went to 3 different police departments and got no results. Plaintiff sought assistance from therapists on May 18th, one of which tried to have her therapy appointments covered by the Victims' Compensation Fund, which was rejected because plaintiff was told no law enforcement agency had opened an active investigation into any of her many reports of her violent gang rape. So why her regular insurance couldn't pay for her to go to therapy? Subsequently thereafter, plaintiff asked police for a copy of her report from the Walnut Creek Police Department on July 19, 2018. Plaintiff was provided a letter from Walnut Creek Police Department stating that it was unable to furnish this information as it is confidential and not subject to public release, despite plaintiff not being the public and the victim/complainant. What? In March of 2024, the plaintiff was re-traumatized by all of the events surrounding Diddy, including the several civil complaints filed against him, as well as the raid on Diddy's California and Florida residence. Plaintiff called Contra Costa Sheriff's again in hopes of renewing her previous complaint and amending it to ensure Diddy's name was included. Plaintiff received no response from the sheriffs. Plaintiff in July of 2024 then emailed the sheriff of the chief of the sheriff's office regarding her complaint, lack of investigation, and how she was treated by the initial responding officer. Plaintiff then later received a call back from a detective, but then nothing further. Plaintiff then began seeking legal counsel for her claims, ultimately being referred to undersigned representation. Undersigned counsel also attempted to get a copy of the 2018 police report from Contra Costa Sheriff's, but was told that they would not provide the report or any other information without a subpoena. I don't know what to think. Hey, Zippy. I honestly don't know what to think. I don't know what to believe. I don't know nothing anymore. I don't know anything because anything is possible. We're about to bring that statement back. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's fact, what's fiction. I don't know nothing anymore when it comes down to these Diddy cases. Because in the beginning, we had court cases that showed grooming that happened to people where he actually took the time to make them feel comfortable and make them feel safe before he began you know doing what they were accusing him of doing. And it seems like now, and I said this on Clubhouse, it seems like now, since the federal case, these new cases, the last 6, this one today, all of these cases are reading like revenge and just randoms. I don't understand how all of this transpired in a residential area. You got gunshots going off. Were you in the hood? And I'm not saying that to be funny, but I know in the hood, they don't come as quick for pow, pow, fired as they do in residential urban areas. So it's like they just took their time to respond, and you got neighbors calling about noise complaints. And I'm quite sure people called and said that there was pow pows going off over there. But it's even the chain of events that happened and transpired. I mean, I know things like this are possible in real life. All I'm saying is I can't distinguish fact from fiction in these court docs no more. So I have to take a stance of staying in the middle. Yeah, but you know what? Y'all make me sick. Here's the thing. All these cases were going on at the same time as the other cases were going on. 95, 2000, 2008, 2016. These cases were all going side by side, parallel. So you have on one side of the timeline in 2006 where he's grooming these people and taking his time to make them feel comfortable before this stuff happens, before he starts blackballing them, before he starts threatening them, before he starts making that power, that imbalance of power known and flexing his power around to make people do what he wanted them to do. Now you're hearing that he had the one of the employees of Echo in Macy's in Herald Square in Manhattan in a stockroom. And he's orally assaulting this man and telling Echo to SMD while he's doing it, all because the guy works for Echo. Then you have this case where an actual assault happens, very brutal, because she said something about Tupac. Nah. Y'all said KW. I didn't say that. I believed Cassie from the beginning. I didn't need a tape for me to believe what Cassie was saying. I believed her. Who are the mayors, chiefs of police during those times in these states? Let's check their relationship with Diddy and see what their current career role sit. Interesting. I think Diageo has their hands in a lot of these cases. Why would all of these people, if y'all heard the 6 cases that came out the other day, every last one of those happened in New York. So if they happened in New York and you have the feds telling you to come turn, if you've been assaulted, you've been a victim, come, we'll protect you, come to us, blah, blah, blah. Why would you then go to a lawyer in Texas for a civil suit when you have the feds standing behind you? In those 6 cases, you had the White Party, you had the Macy's in Herald Square, you had a video shoot that was going on where a girl was allegedly actually attacked in the bathroom during the Biggie One More Chance video shoot. You got another guy being raped in the back of a van while a white party is going on. You got somebody, a kid, or somebody who was allegedly a kid at the time, saying that during a white party, Diddy was standing there groping his genitalia during a white party by the porta potties. Then you got another female who's saying that she was raped after a photo shoot after party for making the band. But it's like in all of these cases, it's just a get in, get out type of thing. However, that's not what we've seen happening before these federal cases. So I can't say that he's been elevating. It's 2 different types of things that are going on here at the same time. And if all of this is true, what kind of monster are we dealing with? And if it's not true, what kind of monster are we dealing with? Because Diageo could very well be behind a lot of these cases that are Jane and John Doe's too. There's a lot of possibilities with all of this. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what to believe. This is really like sick in the head. The acts, and even if they're not actual acts and just story, this is a lot. And remember, go back and watch that video that I did about Diageo, and I was telling y'all how far back the money they're connected to goes. And how they wasn't trying to give him that money. I think that I really do agree with the narrative that was the beginning of the end of Diddy's career. He should have just took his 40 million, bounced, went and shopped DeLeon someplace else that would respect him, tried to figure out how to launch it on his own, start his own distillery, something. I think he bucked up at the wrong people, because this right here, a lot of this stuff just doesn't, these latest cases just are a little bit like, what? And this was too much. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. This right here, I need to ring my bell. I think Diageo is on a mission to destroy him. That man's net worth has dropped. The last time I checked it was $600 million. And dropping. This was beyond extreme. Listen, I need to go pray and cleanse myself and go to sleep, because I really feel like a heaviness right all in here. It's just heavy right now. Baby, this was a lot. But it'll all come clean in the wash, because at some point we're going to find out what's what. But anyway, that is the 19th Diddy doc that has, shoot, I forgot something. Hold on, y'all. I be forgetting, Lord. I be forgetting. Okay, Migo, we gonna leave. See, my dog don't even want to be in here right now. Like, he's on some, listen, you done told this diabolically evil story, and I want out this mug. I don't want, take me out. He said, take me to the king. But this has been a lot to consume. I don't know. Henny Glasses in the chat. I don't want to read them again over here. I can just upload the video, but yeah, because I don't want to read those docs again. I'll upload the videos from Clubhouse. Just so you know, when we talk about these things on the Clubhouse, it is an open floor. We explore all options and we kind of make light of things over there. And I usually crack jokes when I'm reading these docs and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, this one kind of threw me through a loop and a doozy, because it was just like, what the hell? But did I not call it when I said watch Doe 1 save her? He was like her protector. She was standing behind him after he just graped you. And it seems like he was graping you for a very long time. He was protecting you because he said something about Tupac. Why are you bringing Pac in this? Don't be bringing Pac into stuff like this. Like, listen, all y'all out here making these cases, leave Pac out of this. He ain't got that kind of smut on his name. He wasn't at no freak offs. He wasn't even cool with Diddy and Biggie. Now I'm beginning to wonder, did Pac know about the freak offs and that's why he wasn't messing with them? You know what, Peaches and Cream? I'm not even going to do that with you. I agree with you, Rob. If 1% of this story is correct, he's evil. He's still evil. This is still evil. Entertainment industry has gotten away with too much in regards to children. You are absolutely right, Coco City. I don't even want to begin to touch the topic of what Hollywood has been doing to child stars all the way back. Judy Garland and all of that. I don't want to get into all of that stuff. It's very dark. And it's very bleak over there. It's very evil and demonic, as we can see. And the minute that you piss the wrong person off, they are coming to take you down because they built you up. And I feel like this is what's happening with Diddy. I'm not saying he innocent. I ain't saying he didn't do none of it. What I'm saying is some of this stuff is really questionable. And yeah. Let this be a lesson to anybody trying to break into the music industry. Do not get into bed with them people, literally and figuratively. If you can make your money off of SoundCloud, YouTube, upload your stuff to Apple Music and all of that and get your money on your own, you don't even need a label no more nowadays. You don't. All they do is distribute and push. They're a machine behind your stuff. But if you gather you a following, you don't even need the music industry no more. But anyway, that'll do it for this video. Thank y'all for tapping in and tuning in. Shout out to you if you were here from the beginning and stayed. Shout out to you if you came in at any point and stayed. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of the interaction in the comments. As always, I do salute and shout out to the replay gang. Please be sure that you are liking the video on the way in if you're on the replay. Please be sure that you're liking the video on the way out if you were here. And as always, remember to vibe high so that the bullshit don't stick. And I know sometimes that is hard, but vibe high anyway. Remember that love is always love. I love y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video tonight. Tonight. Oh, we getting into some BMF tonight. We getting into some BMF tonight because I have a special guest that's coming on. Shout out to y'all that are still here right now. Those who have left early are going to miss out. I have a special guest coming tonight to sit with us. And they are related to someone who was in the BMF series. Hold on, y'all. So, we are going to have E.D. Boyd's nephew joining us this evening. He is going to be he's setting the record straight about how his uncle was portrayed in BMF, the inconsistencies that were in there, and the truth. He's also going to be letting you know how the city is feeling and what their temperature is like with all of this that has been going on with Meech, with Lou Da Vinci, and much, much more. So y'all make sure that you're tapping in and tuning in this evening. I'm going to go for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. So set your alarms, okay, so that you don't miss out, all right? But I will see y'all later on tonight at 7 for E.D. Boyd's, yes, nephew. And we gonna pour up on some BMF, y'all. Because Meech is coming home soon. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. But all right, y'all. I love y'all. I'm going to go eat for those of y'all who get on me about eating. And I'll holla at y'all later. Because I don't want the simple life. It's the fine things I like. I want my